45% of my day in looking at new deals is in the crypto space. That's almost half. So I'm going to continue to be very constructive in 2022. I'm very excited about innovation there. I think what's happening right now is the economy is going through a permanent adjustment through this last 2 years of COVID towards a more productive way to do business. Most of this is direct to consumer in every sector, and more digitization and more productivity from technology and all kinds of other tools that have been developed, not just in the last 6 months, the last 2 years. And I always use the example, the behemoth example, which is such a good one to use globally. Nike was able to get past 50% of its sales now globally in the last 18 months, direct to consumer on every geography on earth. So they've completely changed their model, much less dependent on the inefficiencies of retail, and using all the different technologies they've been able to use, they're going direct consumer, whether you're in Phnom Penh, Cambodia, Toronto, Canada, New York, Boston, doesn't matter. You order your shoes direct from them, they drop right to your door. Now, that's really margin enhancing because they can make as much as 80% gross margin. And you're seeing this right through the S&P 500. So you have to ask yourself, going into Q1, is there an upside surprise? And maybe it's this. Maybe we continue this just south of 6% GDP growth into Q1, which has now got a print of less than 3 as an estimate, and we surprise everybody with this continued productivity moving through the entire business channels all around the world. And that's sort of the way I'm going to be trading into Q1. I'm staying constructive equities. I'm picking all of my PowerPoints. I'm staying in technology because I think that's where it's going. And I think there's a lot of upside left. Well, the narrative on inflation just 2 months ago, 60 days ago, was it was being caused by disruption in supply chain, global supply chain. And that was true. But now when you start to look at the price of gasoline in cities like San Diego and San Francisco, north of $5 a gallon in the US, and the price of bread up 13%, chicken up 19%, beef up 24%, that's real inflation. And that's the result of having so much free money coming out of helicopters for so long, including that last $1 trillion infrastructure bill, which hasn't even hit yet. Now, that's the negative news. So it's not just supply chain disruption. I think what's going to happen is supply chain problems will slowly get better through Q2 and Q3 and Q4, not in Q1. There's still big problems into the major ports in North America. However, we saw that bill, Build Back Better bill, just basically get dead. I mean, it's gone. And that is very important for not putting any more fuel on the fire in inflation. The economy in North America is on fire. It doesn't need any more stimulus. And so, for whatever reason, the checks and balance in the system made sure that that was going to be, I thought, very bad policy, a really bad idea, and it got just basically put behind the barn, and you know what happened to it. It's gone. So the good news for investors on the S&P 500 is this. You've got total gridlock in Washington now. Nothing else is going to get done. Zero. The midterms will hit. The incumbent always loses a ton of seats in the House when that happens. This time for Biden, it looks could be much worse because they didn't like the socialist swing that he was pushing on them, and he was really kowtowing to that side of the party. And I don't like to get into politics. I like to get into policy. But the good news is that bill's dead. Total gridlock, nothing more out of Washington. This is always good for markets. It gives you more certainty that politicians can't do anything else for the rest of Biden's mandate. Great news. In 2022, nothing's going to happen in the U.S. market. I don't think they'll even deal with stable coins. That geography is going to go through a very long process before it institutionalizes crypto. Everybody understands that. The optimism that was around in February last year around the first U.S. ETF, when the ETFs came into the Canadian market, and you have to hand it to the Canadian regulator. They have been very strong in terms of innovation and letting these new ideas of payment systems be tested in the markets and then adopted in their policy. We just had 2 new licenses granted here in Ontario. They're pan-Canadian for market exchanges. That's fantastic. And that's real innovation. And the way I like to look at that, and this is just a personal opinion, I don't have any insider information or anything, but the OSC has consistently been great innovation, great innovators, very experimental, but never did anything outside of the purvey of the SEC. They were very coordinated.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information. And it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
So in a way, Canada's a bit of a guinea pig market for what the SEC looks at. That's a personal opinion. So they're watching what's happening here. We're getting very strong adoption of these various payment systems, crypto platforms, cryptocurrencies, crypto infrastructure, all of that, these different chains. Canada is leading the charge globally in getting investor capital, which is absolutely fantastic, including mine. And other geographies are starting to look at Canada in terms of leadership, in the sense that they're not crypto cowboys, they're not going against the SEC, they're being very thoughtful. So geographies like United Arab Emirates, I just spent 10 days there to talk to the government about their plans on cryptocurrencies, because I'm very interested in investing there as well. I think for institutional investors now, the new game plan for 2022 is to find the geographies and find the regulators that are going to be more innovative, if you want to call it that, or more liberal, if you want to use that word, and invest in those geographies while we wait out policy in the United States, which is going to eventually happen. But you've got to be a global investor if you want to enjoy the innovation being done within crypto. And I will always argue this regarding crypto. You know, I don't think Bitcoin's Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin is software. I think Ethereum is software. I think HBAR is software. Polygon is software. I invest in all of it. It's the infrastructure of the internet. And lastly, because I remember talking to you guys at the beginning of last year, and I was saying I was thrilled that my crypto exposure in February and March, the end of Q1, was 3%. Well, through more investment this year in companies like WonderFi and Immutable Holdings that were brought public on the NEO Exchange in Canada, more innovation, you got to hand it to the NEO. My exposure now across crypto, including my work with FTX, and with Circle in USDC, I'm past 10%. That's a ton of the operating company's capital involved in this sector. I use the same approach I use to equities and debt. I never let one single position become more than 5% of the portfolio. Never more than a sector ever gets past 20. So I've got a good 10% left to go on crypto. I'm very constructive on crypto. I'm a believer in it. You have to make a binary decision. Either you believe in it or you don't. I'm on board, so I'm investing. But I actually allocated 7% of the capital. But capital appreciation was so strong in the last 2 quarters across a lot of these platforms that it blew right past 10%. I haven't trimmed anything yet because no individual position. My largest right now is Ethereum. But I also own a lot of Solana, a lot of Polygon. Polygon guys I met in Dubai, I was so impressed with their whole technology of aggregating transactions on top of Ethereum and then reducing gas fees or costs dramatically. And any time you can add efficiency, you can reduce friction, reduce costs, be more productive, you want to invest in teams that do that. So I invested in them as well. I'm just finding, you know, I look at deal flow right now, 45% of my day in looking at new deals is in the crypto space. That's almost half. So I'm going to continue to be very constructive in 2022. I'm very excited about innovation there.
Do you want to know one thing about crypto? I made over 3,000% in profit in a few weeks. Fact is, the traditional financial system, the traditional money system makes you poor, not rich. If you want to earn $500,000, $1 million, you have to wait until you're 50, 60, 70 in the traditional financial system, and you probably will still be broke. And you will be old. This is not a sexy combination, as you can imagine. But the question is, how can you start in crypto and make these profits? Where to invest? Where to start? My name is Gunnar and I'm from Germany, as you can hear, and things are a little bit different in Germany. More about that later on. Fact is, there are lots of different cryptocurrencies. It's a gigantic universe where beginners and professionals get easily lost. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are 7 key steps you need to follow to become successful in this market. You have to know them, and if you fail one of them, it's literally impossible to succeed in this market. Just an example, one of the key points is your exchange, and one of the biggest are, for example, Binance and Coinbase. These are trusted and well-established exchanges, but, and this is a big but, you won't find the super profitable coins on those exchanges. The unknown super profitable coins that get gigantic profits are not traded on those kind of exchanges. They are traded on much smaller insider platforms that are barely known. And I can tell you what those super secret exchanges are and why they are so profitable. And another super important thing are the right information sources. The point is, the internet is gigantic. There are hundreds and hundreds of YouTube channels, blogs, pages, and much more. And there are also market makers and influencers. For example, Elon Musk, he is not a crypto guy, but the moment he recommended Dogecoin, it went through the roof, to the moon, so to say. But why did he recommend it? Where did he hear it from? He didn't hear it from newspapers. And believe me, he is listening to someone. But you have to know who, and you have to react before he is reacting. This is really important. And these are only 2 of the 7 steps you have to follow in order to be successful in crypto. And if you want to know all of these steps in much more detail, and if you want to have a comprehensive checklist, here's what you should do. There is a link below this video. Click on this link and you will get the opportunity to subscribe to my channel. Click on the link and you will see a video where I explain the next steps. So see you soon. Click on the link now. I'll see you there.